Hey, it's Hope. Welcome to Hopefully Here, as always. Super stoked that you clicked on this video and you're here with me right now. We are going to talk book haul because I actually have one, which is surprising because I'm not a big book buyer, but we'll get into that. But with books goes hot drinks. They work in tandem. So I'm going to make a pumpkin spice misto. It's going to be like half coffee, half pumpkin spice milk. Has anybody tried this? I think it's my favorite pumpkin spice milk. Trader Joe's made one, but this one's better. And Costco sold it in packs of 6, which is awesome. I got a pack a couple months ago and I still have 3 left. Very excited about it because now that the chilly weather is here, and by chilly weather, I mean like 5 degrees Celsius. I'm Canadian, so 5 degrees Celsius, which for me is chilly because I've been in California for the last 6 years and it didn't get to 6 degrees ever. I'm so excited to drink hot drinks and have cold weather outside. It makes my heart so happy. I'm gonna make a drink and then we're gonna sit down and go through my book haul. Would you look at the size of this mug? It's like as big as my head. Delicious. Okay, book haul. If you have watched any of my other videos, it is no secret that I depend pretty exclusively on the library. I do not have a large book collection. I have in the past, but I have done a couple of quite large moves. So I moved from Ontario to British Columbia 10 years ago now or so, and we have moved from Canada to the US. Moving books is very expensive. They're heavy, they take up a lot of space. They are one of the things that over the years have gotten culled. And being down here, being in America now, we have still moved around quite a lot down here, and it just never made sense to have a book collection because of how inconvenient it is to move a mass amount of books. Also, I don't know if you've noticed, but books are freaking expensive these days. And so it just never made sense for me to have a large collection. I would occasionally buy an ebook, but I depended on the library for my reading, and I still depend on the library for my reading. However, things have changed in the last year. We are now in a house that we have bought. We are here, and it has still always been a wish of mine to have my own little library. I know a library is 1,000 books or more. That's not the goal, but just to have a collection of books that I love and enjoy and to slowly start rebuilding that. And we are fortunately in the position right now where a little bit at a time, I can do that. So I have in fact purchased some books this year. I have all the books I purchased except for one, which I can't find. I have no idea where it is in front of me. Let me tell you, I have bought So 19. I have only bought 19 books for the entire year, and that is totally fine. It might go up next year, it might not. I might buy more. I do try to buy my favorite books of the year, and there are a couple that I would still like to get, but I don't know that I will, and I'm totally fine with whatever it is that looks like. So I'm gonna go through some of the paperbacks first. There are 4 books. One of them is the one that I told you I can't find, and I'll try to remember the title and talk about it. 4 books that I bought for the initial move from California up to Washington State, because all of the books that I did own were in boxes somewhere, and I was in between libraries. I still had access to the ebooks through my California library, but I didn't yet have access to a Washington State library, and so I just bought a couple of books to have. One was, I believe, called The Diamond Eye, and it is about a Russian girl who became an assassin. It's based on a true story from World War II, and she was not an assassin, she was a sniper. And it's just her story, and then she comes over to America, and they make this big deal out of her, and she kind of sees how she's being used for the propaganda of war. It was a really interesting book. You have to like World War II stories to enjoy that one. It was small. I've definitely seen it on new release shelves when I've been into bookstores and stuff. It's not the greatest, but if you like historical fiction, it's definitely a story worth checking out, a story of World War II that I had never heard of before, and I found it to be interesting. I also bought The Cartographers by Peng Shepherd, and this is a story about when a map has a mistake, but it's actually kind of like an alternate universe type thing. So it's got a little bit of, I guess, magical realism in it, but it's not really magical necessarily. It was okay. I enjoyed it enough. I was glad to have something to read, but it's a book that I probably would have preferred that I just got from the library rather than spending $20 on it. I think it was like a buy one, get one half off at Barnes & Noble when I bought it. I don't think I paid full price for it, but it follows a girl whose dad dies and her mom is missing. It's got a big cast of characters, so it's interesting enough, but I would say it's more of a library book than a go out and buy book. I have Elif Shafak's 10 minutes, 38 seconds in this strange world. I really enjoy Elif Shafak's writing. She wrote Island of Missing Trees, I believe is what she wrote, and I've just enjoyed all of her books. She's an author that I will continue to pick up and definitely have a good time with. This is about a prostitute who follows her story as, well, what does it say on the, I don't want to give anything away. Okay, so she is dying, and in the last 10 minutes, 38 seconds, she tells her life story, and it's fascinating how her world moves from being a child to being a prostitute and kind of the heartbreak and the ups and downs that come along through her life. I really enjoyed it, and I think Elif Shafak is an incredible writer. And then, just on a whim, I bought this. I think it's being, touted as a thriller, but it's kind of more like a sort of like mystery, not even mystery. It's thriller light, I guess. And that is These Silent Woods by Kimmy Cunningham Grant. I actually really enjoyed this. I think the atmosphere of being in a forest is fascinating. It follows a daughter and father who are living in the middle of nowhere, and once a year somebody comes and brings supplies to them. But in this particular year, the supplies don't show up. And then kind of different people start coming into their world, and it's making the dad particularly very uncomfortable. But the daughter is starting to really push her boundaries and see how far she can press before she causes real trouble. So this was quite interesting. The story, how they ended up in this situation, is really, really neat. It's not an apocalypse story or anything, but it is a survivalist story, and I found that to be quite fascinating. So yes, those were my transition from California to Washington books. We then have my first ever trip to half-priced books. I got Homegoing by Yaa Gyasi. As I said, I like to buy my favorite books, and this has been one of the best books of the year so far for me. It's about a family who eons ago is separated. One of the girls marries a British slaver, the other is sold into slavery, and then how the families diverge and converge over time. Really interesting. I absolutely loved it, and I think Yaa Gyasi is an insanely good writer. Her Transcendent Kingdom was also a really great book, and I wouldn't mind owning one day. But I love this book, and there's a reason it's pretty highly touted. It's fantastic writing. Today, there is a used bookstore near me that was actually really big. I was quite surprised. And so I got 3 books from it. Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. Gone Girl is the first thriller I ever read. It is still one of the best thrillers ever. I'm so glad to finally own a copy. I used to own her other books, Dark Places and something else. I would like to own them again, but they were some of the books that have gotten cold over the years. I don't love that it's the movie title, but I figured it's kind of subtle, so it was okay. It was the only copy they had, so picked that up. Like I said, like, best thriller ever. I have About Grace by Anthony Doerr. Anthony Doerr is very much one of my favorite authors of all time. I have his Cloud Cuckoo Land right there. I'm looking to buy all the Things We Cannot See. I just think he's brilliant. This is his first full-length novel, and it is, you can tell it's his first, but it's such an interesting story, and it's about this man who has the gift of premonition, And so he tries to stop things from happening. And by making the decisions to stop things from happening, there's just so many repercussions and consequences that come along with it. And I think it's so, so good. I absolutely adored this book. I'm so glad I have it. I haven't found it anywhere before, and the fact that I found it at a secondhand store and didn't have to pay full pop makes me happy. It's been quite loved, but I'm okay with that. One of the very few books that I have in this haul that I have not read yet, The Secret History by Donna Tartt. Now, this is just a book that I have heard a gazillion people talking about, and I'm very curious about. I really enjoyed The Goldfinch, so I know that I liked her writing. It's pretty massive, and the font is very small. I'm not sure when I'm going to get around to reading this, but I'm really excited to have it. And like I said, it's in decent condition. It was $8.75. So, a book that I am super, super stoked to have. These are kind of the prize books, I guess. They're brand new, bought them from Barnes & Noble, and they are books that it's been a while since I have bought books like this, and they make me really happy. First up, we have Jane Austen. I love Jane Austen. I have read all of her stuff. I love it all. Mansfield Park is probably my favorite. Pride and Prejudice, probably my second favorite. And again, these are books that I have owned in the past and have had to get rid of. I think I've owned Pride and Prejudice like 3 times. It's one of the, I took one English class in university, and it's the only book that I've ever kind of had to read academically, but I just really enjoy her work and was very happy to find a set that I actually liked. There was a set at Barnes & Noble that I liked more, but they didn't have a complete set, so I went with the complete set. We also, in other classics, have, oh, that was from the sticker, Jane Eyre and Wuthering Heights, and I bought this because I think the cover is incredible. That's a sticker that I need to get off, but is that not? I just thought this was so pretty and really just wanted it on my shelves. Also, I love Jane Eyre. I haven't read Wuthering Heights, but I have read Jane Eyre. Really enjoy it. I like classics a lot, and so very, very excited to have those. And then the final 3, okay, here we go. Samantha Shannon, her first, The Bone Season. I love this series. I am so irritated that it's taking her as long as it is to get on with it, because I think there's only been 4 books so far and there's supposed to be 7 or 8. But I bought this because it is beautiful, and like I said, I just love this series so very much. So I will continue to just sit back and wait. Which brings me on to the last 2 books. Now, I don't really want to read these because I don't want to reward her for not working on this series, but I've heard nothing but incredible things about these 2. And like I said, we're in this new house. We have bookshelves that I can put some pretty books on displays. So, The Priory of the Orange Tree and A Day of Fallen Night. I bit the bullet. I bought them. I've never read them. I'm hoping I love them. I am not a big fan of buying books before I read them because what if they suck? But even if these suck, they're so pretty, I would leave them on my shelves anyways. Somebody left a comment on, I think, my Goodreads video about how these books were worth the page count, and I don't doubt it because I love Samantha Shannon's writing. And they're so freaking pretty. So I'm really excited to have these, even if I hate that I'm buying a second series of hers when she hasn't even finished the first series of hers that I love the most. So those are all the books I've bought this year. They, like I said, I would love to start growing my book collection, but it is not the biggest priority. I think that I need to love a book normally to buy it or get it secondhand, because it's just so expensive, and the library is such an insanely valuable resource that I absolutely love. And so I'm excited to put these on my shelves, but I am also just quite content to continue borrowing books from the library. Anyways, tell me what your favorite book you've bought so far this year is, and prettiest book. If there was one book you could just display, what would it be? I would love to know that. I'd love to look up the cover and see what it looks like. I hope you are all having epic days. I hope you find yourself a hot drink and a cozy corner with a great book, and you just have a good time. I will see you in the next one. Bye.